Hello and welcome to Backstage 360. I'm Kelly Bennett, and we are here at 2023 NAMM interviewing a whole lot of different artists. And today I have somebody very special to my heart. Gregg Karukas, a Grammy winner and somebody who's been in the industry for a long time and a very, very dear friend. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Great to be with you.
Oh my gosh, it feels like I've known him forever being in the jazz world. This guy has played with so many jazz greats, but he's also a jazz great himself. You won a Grammy, but first off, I want to talk about the Rippingtons. You, original member of the Rippingtons. Tell me a little bit about how that all happened and something exciting. I mean, I know it must have been a real thrill.
Well, it is kind of unique because there was a period in the mid-'80s where a few of us had our own little bands that we were playing in a few little clubs. And somehow we all sort of congealed because Russ Freeman had every Monday night at the Baked Potato. So I got recommended to play in Russ's band, and I knew Brandon Fields, the sax player. I knew most of the guys, and we played every Monday as Russ Freeman group, and we were playing Russ's songs, which are very great melodic songs. And there's a Japanese company that asked Russ to do a project. And so Russ started recording in his little apartment, and I went over to do some keyboard tracks. And it was really mostly sequenced drums using a Lin 9000 drum machine. And I thought the songs were really good, and I said, Russ, maybe you want to put real drums on this and make it a real rhythm section and go into a real studio. So sure enough, that's what he did. So we went into the studio, recorded the songs. He got David Benoit to play on a couple of cuts. Kenny G was not that busy, and he had not quite broken out as the million seller that he was. Kenny did a little guest thing. And so the album became finished, and he was under contract to another label and couldn't put it out as a Russ Freeman project. So he figured out, oh, what am I going to call it? And so he just said, well, you guys are ripping. You know, that's slang for you guys are burning or grooving.
Grooving.
So the Rippingtons were born, and then it blew up. That record got played so much on the radio, quite a few of those songs. And one of them actually has one of the only synthesizer solos on that was on radio ever. That's called She Likes to Watch. It was a really great song. And that's me on synthesizer. And yeah, so we toured as the Rippingtons for about a year or so. And then that was coincided with my first solo CD coming out, The Night Owl. And then so I split off to do my own gigs, and you know, various guys would come and go, but the Rippingtons just became what they are.
You ripped, man. Totally groove, right?
But that's the true, actual story behind the Rippingtons.
Oh, that is so cool. And from there, you've worked with so many great artists. I mean, Melissa Manchester, you mentioned David Benoit, George Duke. Something in your heart. What brings back a good memory for you?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is moving to California. I didn't come with the goal of getting my own record deal and becoming an artist, but I was composing songs. So everything happened kind of organically, and I deliberately didn't want to like push my own project. I wanted to be a freelancer and contribute to other styles, especially R&B pop, which I'm way into that. Jeffrey Osborne, George Duke, and the Pointer Sisters and all that. So that's kind of what I ended up doing, working with a lot of songwriters on demos and doing all the production and keyboard. So that's how I got my production chops up. And then just organically, things started happening, and an independent label was looking for songs or, you know, artists. And so I submitted some of my demos, and they said, yeah, let's sign it. So that became my first solo project in '87. I came to LA in '82, and Richard Elliott was one of the first guys that I met. I just saw him a couple weeks ago. We did a show together, and he recommended me to Melissa Manchester. So I toured. Richard was playing sax, and I toured with Melissa for a couple of years, and that was a great experience doing that. So all of these different experiences, doing studio work, getting recommended for other bands where you just might have one rehearsal and then do a showcase or something like that. All that kind of got my reputation up, and every penny I made, I put into my own studio. So that brings me to being a producer, arranger, and all that for other people.
So now, because you're a producer and an arranger and all that other stuff, I had a friend who was doing some PR work for a gentleman, and he had a CD that he was coming out with. And when that album won a Grammy, when I saw your name attached to it, I went, holy mackerel, Gregg Karukas just won a Grammy. Tell me about that, because that music is far different from what I know of you.
Well, it's the perfect example of just trying to be versatile and being a composer. I never wrote music to order. Like, I did a couple jingles back in the day, and I haven't really scored any film stuff. But to be a songwriter and collaborate with this lyricist or this singer who has their style, and to be able to gel and contribute, that's kind of what my role was. Actually, Omar's demos, I produced songs that he had, and that got him his record deal. And then over a 10-year period, we collaborated on the next album, co-writing all of the music. And then the third album of that 10-year period was the one that won the Grammy. And it was a total surprise to me. I didn't campaign or promote for it or anything. But yeah, it's out there on YouTube, millions of views on these songs. And
the music is more of a, how would you describe it?
Well, yeah, I should have said that.
I'm trying to remember
something about it, because his
it's
style,
something like I would hear at the spa.
Well, exactly. Originally, when I heard his music at first, it was very soft piano, like sort of the same chord changes, but new agey.
Okay.
And so what we did together is add a lot more world elements and more dynamics, more alternate sections, orchestrations, and stuff like that's kind of my thing. Is taking a really basic song idea and then writing a bridge and writing an interlude and just developing it without going too crazy about it. But yeah, world orchestral. It was in the New Age category, so that's what it won the Grammy for, Best New Age Album. But to me, it's much more world exotic.
It was very soothing, lots of soothing music that I thought.
Yes, and with the great elements of the Spanish guitar of Ramon Stagnaro and the woodwind work of a few different great Pedro Eustache, who had toured with Riani for years, and Charlie Bisharat, great violin player who's on my latest contemporary CD as well. So yeah, those orchestral, organic elements.
It's just beautiful. Well, congratulations again, Mr. Grammy winner. Let's talk about your projects. You have one coming up, and the G.K. Hammond whatever experience, is that what you're calling it?
Well, yeah, I've been kind of branching out in quite a few different directions since my last CD, which was called Soul Secrets. That was in 2014, 2015. And, you know, we had COVID, and I had my personal situation with my family. And then during COVID, I did a solo piano album, which is a whole new, different thing for me. And then all along this time, I've been practicing on Hammond organ. And that's a whole different beast for me because I had never really done left-hand bass lines. The organ, when you're playing organ, it's like some foot pedals and some holding down the bass groove with your left hand, and it's a groove, and there's no bass player. It's guitar, usually guitar, organ, and drums, and sometimes sax. So I spent a lot of time practicing at home, just having fun, and gradually playing a lot of little gigs, sort of getting my chops together. I'm at the point where I'm doing concerts now on organ, and
your left hand is doing the bass.
Yeah. And when I first started, believe me, because my whole career was spent being a multi-keyboardist, where I was supposed to be playing a lot of parts, top keyboard is all the synth parts, the strings, and
This is an organ, though.
yeah, so this is
Right.
the organ, much more organic sounds, and also got to keep the groove going with the left hand. I never had to do that. I was always playing with great bass players, great rhythm sections. So it was a challenge at first. The whole first year was like back to school. Just practice with a metronome. And gradually, it's been about 5 years, and now I'm out doing shows. Some shows are all, I call it the GK Soul Jazz Party. And I've done a lot in Hawaii. I've done a few shows on both islands in Hawaii. And back east, I have a little tour planned where I'm going to split it between my original show, which is 90% my original songs, and 1 or 2 covers. But then I also have been adding this segment that's sort of soul jazz in the middle. When I can get a real Hammond, then it's really cool.
Okay.
So that's
awesome.
what's happening.
So you've got some tour dates coming up that you're going to be on the road. So tell us, where are you going?
Well, let's see. Between tomorrow, I'm at the Topanga Canyon Bistro, which is just a fun real little gig. And then I do Spaghettini a couple times a year. I've got that coming up June 4. And then I'm doing some Peter White dates. I still play occasionally with Peter White on the West Coast and when we do international stuff. And then in August, I'm doing Laguna, the Festival of the Arts down in Laguna. That's going to be the Soul Jazz Party with the real Hammond.
Awesome. Okay.
And then in September, I go back east for 2 weeks and do some shows. I'm originally from Maryland. So I go and I play shows in Philadelphia area, Maryland, Virginia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a nice jazz club in Charlotte. So that's plenty. I enjoy that. And then an occasional festival where I do like a all-star thing between myself, Peter White, Michael Paulo, or Paul Brown and me, and various artists, Steve Oliver.
One of these days we'll get the KSBR birthday bash back together again. Hopefully. I don't know when, but we're hoping.
That was always fun, and I can remember the earliest bashes at the Mission outdoors. Yeah.
Well, where can people find your music?
Oh, well, that's very easy. You can just, on Spotify, you can do Gregg K, and I will come up. There's not too many other Gregg Ks. It'll be, or Karukas.com is my website. And that's got a regular newsletter that I do with all what's going on. And you can also put your email in there and be on my regular mailing list.
And you're on social media, I know that.
Yeah, Facebook, of course. Yeah, I try to keep that up to date. But Spotify seems to be the place everybody goes, and you can just find all my songs, literally, on Spotify.
Such a pleasure talking with you, and thank you so much for stopping by, and congratulations again on everything that's happening.
Thank you.
And we will see you in Laguna, because I'm going to make sure I come see you.
Great. Look forward to it.
All right. Well, you heard him, folks. Gregg K on Spotify or Karukas.com. You can find him there and check out his social media. Definitely take a look at what he's doing. You are a blessing, and your music is beautiful. So thank you again. Thank you for watching Backstage 360. I'm Kelly Bennett. We'll see you next time.